Hello, everyone. Good day. This is PVN Healthcare Team, and today we're here to answer some of your questions from the last health service that we had. So stay tuned, listen, learn, put it into practice, and always remember your health is your wealth.
Hi, this is the PVN team, and we're back with your questions from the last session. And my name is Comfort Ogushe. I'm a registered nurse, the host for this session, and I've got here with me.
Hello, I'm Aure Deniga. I'm a GP specialty training in my first year.
And I'm Esther Obinichi. I'm a registered nurse.
I'm Louis Osaini Aikoroge, specialist emergency medicine physician. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So we'll go straight to the questions. And so I'll go straight to you, Dr. Louis. There's a question here for you from the last session. It says, does shortness of breath or heartburn after running indicate high blood pressure? If so, how can it be managed?
So, good question. Shortness of breath or heartburn does not directly indicate high blood pressure. However, shortness of breath can be a symptom of a complication of high blood pressure. The only way you can actually tell if you've got an elevated blood pressure is to check. Most times, if you remember from our last talk, I did say all of these cardiovascular diseases, most of them are silent killers. They don't actually have any specific symptom. So it could be a complication secondary to elevated blood pressure, but not necessarily a symptom of high blood pressure. That's just the simple answer.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. All right, I'll go straight to Dr. Ore. Yes. So there's a question here. It says, is a resting heart rate of 55 beats per minute dangerous?
Thank you for the introduction. And whoever wrote the question, thank you for the question. In short, not necessarily. That's not necessarily a definitive answer, but everybody has their own version of normal. And a lot of it stems down to everybody's different lifestyle, their different habits and whatnot. The most classical comparison is an athlete's compared to the general public, general individual. Most athletes will naturally have a lower resting heart rate because they're constantly putting stress on their heart. So the heart has learned to adapt to elevated pressures, whether cardiovascular, whether resistance training, or whatever the case may be. So they've naturally learned to adapt. And so when they're not doing strenuous work, their resting levels have adapted to much lower need for sustainability. However, on the flip side, a low heart rate could possibly indicate heart disease, but there are various considerations to take in. Is the individual always feeling tired? Do they feel like they've missed the beats in their hearts every once in a while? So, like I said, short answer, not necessarily, but it's something to keep an eye on, basically. And especially if it's different from what their heart rate normally would be. So I'm talking too long, but like if it's dropped from if normally they're like 70 heart rates and they've dropped to 50, 40, then they should get it checked out. But if it's always sitting 50s, low 60s, then it's most likely what they're used to.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that answer. Yeah, in detail. So, more like there's factors to consider if there is a change along the way. It's not normally so, and there is a change. So, something to be worried about if something happened along the line. That's what we.
More or less, yeah.
Thank you very much. So we'll go straight to the next question. Because I'll ask Sister Esther. There's a question word for you. There's can one develop type 1 diabetes later in life, even if they don't have it earlier in their life?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So, yes, it's very possible to develop type 1 diabetes later in life because it's an autoimmune disease. And generally, people develop autoimmune diseases, can come up with autoimmune disease at any time in life. So, yes, it's very possible to develop it later in life. Yeah.
Very much. Okay, so we'll continue on the questions. And Dr. Ore, can I still direct this to you? Said, what type of chest pain are warning signs of heart diseases?
So what type of chest pain are warning signs of heart disease? So classically, it depends on the situation again, but classically, we are concerned if patient is developing very sharp pain, especially very hard pressure in their chest. Some people complain of feels like an elephant is sitting on my chest, so a lot of pressure, making it difficult to breathe. Some people complain of pain on their left side, going down their arm, going up their neck. It has to do with shared neural pathways with the heart and those different areas as well. So those are classical signs that you would see for something like a heart attack or for things like angina, which is just basically spasms of the blood vessels that supply the heart. So um, sharp pain, very intense pressure in the chest, exertional pain. So if you're exercising and then predictably you're like, oh, I experience pain whenever I try to run 100 meters or I try to do anything beyond what is regular exertion. So that's what I would say. So pain on exertion, location in the arm, the neck, and extreme pressure. And those, I would say, are three things that people should look out for. There are many more, but just for our purposes, those are some very basic ones to look out for.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Louis, there's a question here. It says, a female of 28 years old presenting with tightness in the left lower chest, heartburns, loud heartbeats, and lower abdominal pain. Is this a cause of alarm or is it just gastritis?
I probably think that that's a good question. I think the person who asked the question is probably in the health profession. It's quite a detailed question, so it's difficult to say from the face value. So with every symptoms, we as healthcare professionals tend to want to ask further questions to actually characterize those symptoms to know if it's something that we need to be worried about. On the face value, I would be very wrong to say it's just gastritis. So I would want to personally ask more questions surrounding all of these symptoms. When did they start? What are the things that triggers this pain? What other associated symptoms does this pain come with? So all of those things put together will make sense of what could be wrong with the patient. So just mere telling me that someone has got an abdominal pain, some sort of heartburn, whether or not it's gastritis, is difficult to say. That notwithstanding, when we're looking at a patient, we always look at them at an holistic picture. We want to see the global picture of what's going on. So, man, looking at this patient that has the patient that you're describing, a 28-year-old lady, relatively quite young for possible cardiac events. It's quite young for someone to have a heart attack. Although now we're beginning to see increasing young people having heart attack. But a normal classical definition of heart attack usually is within the age of 30 and above. But that doesn't mean that a 28-year-old cannot have a heart attack, but it's very, very rare. But just to answer your question in plain terms, it's difficult for me to say whether or not it's gastritis because I do not fully understand what the patient is coming in with. I need to ask more questions to be able to give a good answer to that.
Thank you very much. So wherever it is, you can come for more and we get to know more about that. So
Sorry, can I just quickly add something? Just want to reiterate the importance of having your regular checkups and also having your GP because, as we pointed out, we're not able to exactly do as much as we would like with the information given. The GP would be the one to paint a holistic picture, not even just from one visit, but from multiple visits. We'll also be able to determine the cause of certain symptoms because of the predictable nature. If a person is coming with this, and this after this, or I experience pain after eating this, it makes it a bit easier to narrow down what certain things are. And it also is a bit easier to have an idea of what your baseline is, what your normal functioning is in regards to different things. So if you fall off, it's easier to say that, okay, something's going on. Perhaps it should be investigated, like the heart rate that we detected. It's much easier to know that, oh, this needs to be looked into if we know that there has been a particular value, but now it's changed suddenly.
Thank you very much for that addition. Okay, thank you. We'll go straight to, we have so many questions right here. Okay, so the sister, if I can ask you this one. It says, can you advise on what to do? My husband has just been diagnosed with diabetes, but he does not take too much sugar.
Okay, thank you for the question. So development of diabetes is not caused strictly by just taking sugar. There are so many things involved. Person's lifestyle, diet, and diets. Sugar cannot be gotten from just sugar alone. Some people take a lot of refined carbs that can also increase, the chances of developing diabetes. So general refined carbs that we all know, spaghetti, rice, white rice, general refined carbs. Those are, bread. Those are foods that we eat, and we see all the time. So it's not just about sugar. Lifestyle also is very important. Physical inactivity also. The person is, living a sedentary lifestyle, not exercising enough. Does the person take enough water also? So hydration is also very important. So there are a lot of factors involved. Genetics is also very important. If you have a family history of diabetes, it increases your chances of getting diabetes too. So there are just a lot of things involved. It goes beyond sugar, taking sugar. Hormonal imbalances can also cause these things too. So yeah, it goes beyond just taking sugar. Yeah.
Thank you. So, okay, to Dr. Ore. This one says, which type of diabetes can cause hand pain that feels like one fell but didn't? Yeah, it leads to gradual organ issues like kidney failure and incoherent speech.
This individual sounds very educated. They're very right about organ damage and things like that that can arise from diabetes. Generally, both types of diabetes can cause complications, but more commonly type 2 diabetes, because that stems from insulin resistance. In type 1, body isn't properly making insulin, so it's not really because there's an overload of sugar in the system, which is causing damage elsewhere. That's not typically how type 1 works. Type 2, on the other hand, because there's excess glucose in the system and it's overriding the body's ability to transfer it into usable energy, that causes issues in the blood vessels, and by virtue, that causes issues in the nerves. So the way the body works is everything needs blood, everything needs oxygen, from your muscles to your heart itself, to your brain, to your nerves as well. So when your nerves aren't properly receiving oxygen because of blood vessel damage, they eventually get damaged as well, and that causes pain. So that's probably the type of pain that they were talking about, what we call neuropathic pain. So classically, people get in the hands and the legs, all over. And unfortunately, a lot of people need a medication for that just to relieve the pain. I'm not sure this individual is specifically saying that they're experiencing pain like that, but anything can cause that type of pain, neuropathic, and it's caused by multiple things, including medications as well, or lack of certain vitamins, things like that. So I wouldn't be too quick to say that diabetes is what's causing this. And yeah, in regards to organ failure, can cause damage, like I said, in blood vessels, which by virtue can cause issues with kidneys, with the liver, and things like that. But that's another conversation for another day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Dr. Louis. So, I've got this one here. So it says, how can a woman who was anemic during an emergency CS manage tiredness, shortness of breath, and low blood pressure after 17 months of the whole incident?
Good question. So from the question, it said an anemic patient. So again, it's usually very difficult to blankly give advice to people when not knowing the full picture of what's happening. So if she said she was anemic following a cesarean section, meaning that she must have lost lots of blood during the delivery. So the first question I would have loved to ask if I'm physically seeing the patient in front of me is to know when was the last time she checked her blood levels, just to be sure that she's not persistently anemic. Because from what she's describing, all of her symptoms may just be related to the anemia that she's had. So first thing first, let her go to the GP, get her blood levels checked to be sure that she's not persistently anemic, and also check her iron and other profile just to be sure that she doesn't have deficiency of those micronutrients that would predisposed to having anemia. And if she has that, she can start taking of those tablets to try and boost up her blood levels. And if she's overly anemic, and she may end up having blood transfusion if she believes in that. There are some religious people that don't like blood transfusion. It all depends on what they want. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for this amazing answer. So, in conclusion, can you just give us like your closing words?
Yeah, your health is your wealth. So, thank you for putting your faith in us by virtue of these questions. We're very happy that people are very interested in improving their health literacy and knowing how to better take care of themselves. So, we'll do our best within our capacity to continue to work towards that. We're a family, so we're a family that stays healthy together. Well, I don't know how the saying goes.
Okay. So, we want to thank the church for giving us this opportunity to be able to use our skills and knowledge to, impact, our community as much as possible. So, just as everything that we've been taught, let's try it. It's not just about knowing, but trying to take one step at a time to implement those things as much as possible. And if you have any questions, you can always feel free to speak with any of us. If you need more clarifications, we even have your GP. Don't, some people have symptoms and they know that something is wrong, but they just overlook it. It's a big problem because sometimes by the time is now being treated, it has, escalated beyond measure, whereby it might have been treated easily and to have gotten too far. So if you have symptoms or issues, health issues that you are not very clear about, or you are just overlooking, please don't overlook any symptoms. Speak with your GP, speak with, health professionals around you to seek more clarifications. And I pray that God will help us and give us good health in Jesus' name. Amen.
Just as part of a closing remark, let's remember what Sister Ozioma told us in the sermon she made. Just remember that as a human being, we're a tripartite being. We've got body, spirit, and soul. So I said a sick body cannot house a performing soul or a performing spirit. So the body needs to be well taken care of. And let's do everything within our power to ensure that our body is sound enough to carry a performing spirit and a soul. Thank you.
We pray for grace to implement this knowledge. Amen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.